Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Alright, so today we're analyzing one of the moves that actually a lot of people think will probably like make this key Pokemon probably a lot less viable. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case, guys. I'm talking about Bubble. So the thing about Bubble, so obviously the one Pokemon that's like, oh my gosh, okay, that Bubble is really like you can put a name on is definitely AZUMARILL. Here's the issue. The thing about Bubble, it is never really about how much damage it caused that made it so much of a problem. And I'll explain this more in the later slides, but Bubble in the newer update for the second half of Season 2 will do less damage. So that means you're going to do less damage, but does this really matter in hindsight overall? Well, we're going to find out. Alright, here's the stats for Bubble. So Bubble is a 3-turn move that generates 11 energy and does 8 damage. It's nerfed from PvE to PvP, so it doesn't even do a lot of damage to begin with, but it has a pretty high energy generation for 3 turns. Only getting outpaced by things like Bullet Seed. I'd say Bullet Seed, Hex when it got buffed. Hex, let's see, what else are there? Hex, Bullet Seed, Snarl. Snarl's another one. And that's pretty much, and Infestation, which actually got buffed as well. However, the only thing that literally like goes below as far as like a 3-turn move that really matters the most right now is probably, I would say, Fire Spin. Other than that, Bubble has stayed pretty static throughout the entirety of like Go Battle League since like the preseason. It hasn't actually changed at all. And the thing about Bubble, and I'll show you on the Pokemon it's available in, the thing about Bubble that makes it really good isn't really the power per se, how much damage it does. It's really the energy generation, because like I mentioned, it's only subpar second. It's only the move below it is basically Fire Spin, but 11 energy is still a lot for a 3-turn move, considering Fire Spin is still relevant. So 3-turn moves, basic like their purpose is to gather energy. So because of that, damage isn't really your main concern. So that's why it's a little bit not really going to affect the meta too much. In other words, yes, that also means Azu's gonna keep coming to kill you. The thing about water typing as well, there's not a lot of things that actually resist Bubble. As you see here, Grass, Water, Dragon, which are very relevant meta types, including Fire, Ground, and Rock, which are also very relevant meta types. So there's not too much of a difference. Usually battlers don't use Bubble for damage. They use battlers to they use Bubble to set up the energy for their next move. Or they try to squeeze in extra bubbles in between other charge moves from your opponent because it's a 3-turn move. So Bubble has other uses outside of damage. As far as the super effective versus weak, I would say it's a lot more resisted than effective. But it's like I said, despite this fact, it's still very, very powerful because of AZUMARILL. Literally just because of AZUMARILL. Because of this, of Bubble's purpose of generating energy versus doing damage itself. For example, if you're bubbling in Altara, you're probably not going to bubble it to death. You're probably setting up your Mantine or your AZUMARILL for Ice Beam. Alright, so here's a list of Pokemon with Bubble. It's actually it's not an extensive list, unfortunately. As you see here, Squirtle, Poliwrath, Poliwhirl. Poliwrath also has Bubble. However, Poliwrath, Mudshot is the better move, just because it generates energy much faster, and Mudshot's a very powerful move. Fast move. So, but it's still available for it. Tentacool also has it, Krabby, as well as Kingler, Horsey, Chinchou, Marill, and of course our favorite person, AZUMARILL. Politoed also has it. As well as Corsola. Mantine's another key Pokemon. If you do Sylph a lot, you've probably seen Mantine a lot, so Mantine's another Pokemon that might be affected. Ludicolo's another interesting one. Well, it's actually really good. It's really good. It's just really good. But yeah, you see it around Ludicolo as well. Corphish, and another bunch of random ones like Primplup, Palpitoad, Greninja. Greninja also has Bubble. Bubble also is what basically allows Greninja to get to its moves. And as you see here, this is like the complete list. There's obviously more potential for other water moves to be a lot more powerful, but Bubble is the premier move you see around that gives the water archetype pretty much its edge in the meta competition. But like I mentioned before, it's not really because of the damage. Really because of the statistics. And some Pokemon just don't even use Bubble to begin with. A good example is Poliwrath. Poliwrath, you want to use Mudshot. For things like Politoed, I think Politoed also has Mudshot. And Mantine, you have Wing Attack. So there's other viability with it. Ludicolo having Bubble is Ludicolo is probably one of the ones where you're like, okay, you might need Bubble. But Bubble's, the damage, yes, it will matter, but not too much. If you're in a position where you have to bubble down your opponent's Pokemon, I'm going to tell you right now, that's a really bad look. Because a lot of moves outpace Bubble and do more damage than Bubble overall. Your DP, your damage output is not going to be as much as the moves. For example, if you're trying to bubble down something, if you're trying to bubble down something that's trying to counter you down, the counter's probably going to win 9 times out of 10 just because it's faster. But the main reason, like I mentioned, Bubble isn't because, you're not trying to bubble something because of the damage, you're trying to gain energy. 11 energy for a 3-turn move is a lot, considering like I mentioned before. The only move before that is like Fire Spin. So, fortunately, there won't be a lot of Pokemon affected by this move. There's a lot of other Pokemon, there's a lot of Pokemon here, like I mentioned before, that you're going to use their alternate fast move rather than their current fast move. Not to say that, Bubble, until we get the actual statistics out, like I said, Bubble I don't see Bubble, even then, I don't see Bubble, just because it does less damage, to be, it's going to kill the water archetype entirely. Obviously, they only lowered Bubble because of this one POS called AZUMARILL. However, I'll go more into detail on that in a technical. Alright, so here's the reason why Bubble, having less damage really doesn't affect the Pokemon that it's associated with. So we're gonna go to AZUMARILL, as you see here. As you see, AZUMARILL the moveset isn't particularly what makes Azu, the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's its stats. As you see here, it maxed out 1795 at level 50. You can actually get it at level 50. And with the right stats, and as you see, has obscenely high amounts of stamina and defense. And XL Azu is just way too dang powerful, basically. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The stats are so strong. Its stats are really its few weaknesses, its horde of resistances, and its supporting moveset. So Play Rough, Hydro Pump, and Ice Beam. If Bubble's energy isn't lower, then it really doesn't matter that much. Majority of your damage that you output from Azu is going to result from your charge moves, not from Bubble itself. Not from Bubble damage itself. You run Sims with Bubble, most of the damage, like I mentioned, is going to be from your charge moves. And because Azu's stats are just so godforsakenly broken compared to every other counterpart, that's why Bubble isn't going to take too much of the meta. Azu will still be meta. It's basically going to be like Registeel, just not as bad, as far as Registeel's situation goes. Because with Registeel, both of its charge moves were nerfed. In Azu's situation, it's still going to be a beast. It's still going to be meta. It's still going to be a beast. It's still going to be out there because Azu is just such a powerful save switch. And like I mentioned before, because of its stats and its supporting charge moves, those aren't going to be nerfed. So Azu is still going to be a monster. So just look out for Azu. Azu is not going anywhere. It's still going to be top tier meta. It's still going to arguably still be the #1 pick until something else comes along that takes Azu off the list. Just because of, like I mentioned, Azu's stats. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Like I mentioned, I know you guys are probably hoping that Azu would be lent out because of Bubble's damage, but Bubble's damage isn't what really makes it, like I said, too much of an issue. It's really just Azu's stats. Also, it's basically the same thing with other Pokemon too. Like if we go to Mantine isn't really dominant because of Bubble. It's because of its stats. As you see, it has high defense, high stamina, and its typing itself allows it to resist a ton of things, minus electric and rock. So that's the reason why like I said, you just really want to watch out for, Bubble isn't going to affect the meta too much being nerfed. It's still, you're still gonna see the same Pokemon that use it still be really, really good. So just keep in mind, Azu ain't really going anywhere. Guys, like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm gonna do more, again, when the official stats come out, I'll do more analysis on this, but for now, it doesn't look like anything's going to change. Even if you were to nerf Azu's, like, bubble damage by 2, it still wouldn't make much of a difference. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I'll see you guys on the next video.